Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I am doing Comic Uno episode 1, what are we up to, 162 I believe, let's see. Yes, 162, and this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. So let's get started. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, and what is number 24? Yes, 24 comics. You're gonna hear a chair move, hold on. Alright, so let's go on to number 24. A book that I want to like, but most likely will drop because it's just not my thing, and that is All-Star Batman issue 2. It's a $4.99 book, which is kind of the reason why it's this low, and I think it's just connection reasons. It is told in a way that you see stories presented in a non-linear direction. So things are happening 2 days from now, 3 days before, 2 hours before, and it gets a little confusing to connect to the story and to this new series in general. Also, there's a lot of villains. Yes, Two-Face is the actual villain in this arc, but there's so many villains I feel like that are crammed into this issue. And again, a big negative for me personally is John Romita Jr.'s artwork, where I just don't really like his art style. I always think it's very bulky and not really detailed in the way I like it. I do like the coloring though. I said that from the last issue. I still enjoy it, but the line work is really weird. It always looks like someone has like a beard or something. So I just don't really like the art style, and right now the story hasn't connected with me, and it's a shame because I do enjoy Scott Snyder's writing, but for now I think I'm going to drop the series. I gave it 2 stars, like I said, I just couldn't really connect to it. So that is All-Star Batman issue 2, and that is number 24. So now we're moving on to number 23, which is also a book I think just weirdly I couldn't connect to, and that is Birthright issue 19. So Birthright, I always like the story when it focuses on the family. I think that's where it's at its best. And here it definitely focuses more on the world, you know, the Earth world and the mystical world that the Rhodes family is from. Now, I feel like, yes, it was necessary to get this information, and we got some information we needed, but in kind of an exposition-heavy way. Or at least in a less interesting way than I would have liked it. Again, I just didn't really care for any of the characters besides the Rhodes family. At least you have the grandfather that's kind of connected to all of this. But overall, the mystical side, honestly, is the side I don't, you know, I'm not as interested in. And I would like to go back to the family roots. I think that's where the series is at its strongest. Also, art style, I've gotten used to, but I do think it's a little, I think it's just not my type of art style. Is a little rugged, I would say. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give it 2 stars. So that's number 23. I get a sip of water, and we're moving on to number 22. Which is also a 2-star book, and that is Spider-Man 2099 issue 15, which I am very much debating I might drop. Most likely I will. The thing that's really keeping me from not wanting to drop it is Tempest's story, which we really haven't seen touched for a while, in Captain America. But even Captain America hasn't really saved this arc for me. I still have no clue why this is a Civil War II tie-in. I don't know if this issue was, but I think the next issue will be, and I know the last issue was. So either the covers are weird on the previews. I just don't remember because I read it digitally, if this was a Civil War II tie-in or not. But either way, I know the last issue was, or at least it was advertised to be. I know the next issue is advertised to be a Civil War II tie-in, which doesn't really make sense to me. But yeah, overall, I just don't like how fan servicey this arc is. It's throwing a lot of Spider-Man 2099 characters, or just 2099 characters in general, and they don't really do much for the plot. It's just very crowded. I think the part I like the most is definitely Captain America, but even her story is kind of dragging and not really going anywhere, and that's the, you know, the thing that's really bothering me about this book and this arc in general. I don't know where it's going. I think it's all over the place. Artwork, I like for the most part. I do think that it's going for a more cleaner art style, and there are some line work that I think could be better, but overall I like the art style. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pick up this book anymore. I'm just really debating what I want to do with it because, I mean, it's already a digital book. I don't get it printed, but I don't know. I'm not connecting to it, and it's been on my worst pile for a little while now. And also, it comes out twice a month. That's another big thing of why I might drop it. But let me know in the comments below if you think I should drop it. So I think that was number 22. It was. So now we're moving on to number 21. Another 2-star book. There is some weak books this week, but it was Deathstroke issue 2. Deathstroke, I see promise in. I do have connection issues with the book because I think the present story is really not that interesting, and we really don't know who Wintergrave is and any of these other characters that Slade's interacting with. Now, I like the family aspect. I keep saying that. But even when Rose was introduced here, it kind of felt weird. I like that. It's like, oh, it was revealed it's his daughter. But I think the buildup of the family could just be better in this book, because I think that's the strongest aspect, but it's just weirdly put into the book and they don't really know what to do with it. And same for the regular present story. I just don't know where that's going. So I love the art though. I really enjoy the art style. For me, I'm a big Rose fan, so I want to see where it goes, but I might drop this book soon. I just haven't been feeling it. So that was number 21, I believe. It was. So now we're moving on to number 20, which is The Flash, issue 6. It goes back to that weird art style. It's back to like this really gritty, dark art style, which does not work for me for The Flash. Also, I would describe it as like crumbly. It looks like all their faces are crumbling down, and just some of the artwork looks crumbly. It's not very neat line work. And you know, that works for some titles, but I didn't feel like it worked, felt like it worked here. And with this book, the reason it's low, obviously, is the art change. I really did like the art in the previous 2 issues or 3 issues. But the big thing is predictability. It was so predictable who Godspeed was. And when I was hearing it, I kind of rolled my eyes because all the reasons we kind of all guessed. And it wasn't in a way, it's like, yeah, I got it. It just felt predictable. And it made the excitement of the arc fall down for me. It made it crumble down. So The Flash issue 6, I don't know. I'm just not really feeling this arc, but I did like, again, previously what they were doing. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really like the Godspeed reveal. Again, I thought it was obvious, and maybe it's because the art style also that kind of got out of this book once again. It kind of lost a tone for me, but we'll see where it goes. The Flash issue 6 gets 2.5 stars for me. That was number 20. Moving on to number 19, which is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, issue 17. So with this book, it had a little bit of art change, which I like the more detailed art, the more line work, cartoonier artwork. I wouldn't even say cartoonier. I would say it's more realistic artwork. But yeah, some of the, I'm showing you Flash's head there. Some of the proportions and angles looked a little weird in this issue. And like I said, I think the other art was just more detailed. And I really loved the art style before. So it's just kind of, it's not bad art. It's just weird to compare the art style we did get, which was more like movie-like, and here that's just kind of simple, simple style art. But yeah, the issue also brings back to, I think, Injustice, at least this volume has run its course, and it's playing a stalling game at this point because nothing really progresses. I mean, you definitely have some character moments with Lex and Bruce, you know, Flash trying to help Lex out. So you have those character moments. The story definitely progresses, but at the same time, this whole Batman, Superman thing going on for how many volumes, how many issues, it has to be more character driven than this. It was like there's some good, you know, small character moments, but not enough to say, hey, you should pick up this issue. So Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, issue 17 gets 2.5 stars for me. And that was number 19. Now we're moving on to number 18, which is The Forevers, issue 1 from Black Mask, which I was actually really looking forward to because the plot seemed really interesting. But I will say the plot describes the book better than this issue. I think if I had to reread the plot to kind of understand what was going on. But these people all wanted to be celebrities, these teenagers, and then, you know, 10 years later we see is the present time that they all are celebrities, but they're dying off, and someone is trying to kill them off, and when they are killed, they have more black magic because they went into black magic to become rich and famous in the first place. See, I didn't get that all from the book, though. I got a lot of that information from the plot, like, that I read, and I think the writing could have executed that plot line better, especially the black magic aspect, because I think that's interesting. I was like, cool, these celebrities, like, are they magic? Are they, like, witches or something? That's cool, like, at least it's supernatural. They did the relationships pretty well here, especially, I guess, the two main characters, which is Kate and Jamie. I like their characters a lot. They opened up with them, but then as we get introduced to the other characters, I think the development of those characters kind of fall off. I think Kate and Jamie definitely had the best development, but the others are like, yeah, they're a part of the group also. One died. So I think they could have better developed those other characters too, as much as they did Kate and Jamie. Artwork, I like too. I think the coloring, I usually like this style, but some of the shading felt dark at times, and I was like, oh, it could have been a little brighter to enjoy that scene a bit more. But overall, I think it gave me enough to want to pick up the next issue, see where it goes, but at the same time, I think as a first issue, it could have explained things a little bit better. So overall, I gave The Forevers issue 1 2.5 stars, but I will give the next issue a try, probably digitally though. So next is, let's see, next is number 17, which is Mockingbird, issue 7, which is a Civil War II tie-in. It's not a bad Civil War II tie-in. I think the story overall is a bit forgettable. I do think it actually gives you a reason to tie into this book. But also I will say, you know, I'm not a hardcore Mockingbird fan, but you gotta be a hardcore Mockingbird fan to really get the fullness of this story, because in the end we find out that this whole locked door mystery, which I did enjoy the kind of story structure of that and seeing it in a comic, I enjoyed that aspect, but in the end we find out that all this like death was actually like a red herring for what's actually going on between this guy, Phantom Rider, which supposedly is the person who broke up Hawkeye and Mockingbird's marriage. Now, that is very specific to those two characters. I didn't really feel for Phantom Rider very much, and for every reason I keep wanting to say Phantom Stranger. But yeah, I didn't really feel for Phantom Rider, and I understand it's more of a cliffhanger, again, for hardcore Mockingbird fans, but for people that are just kind of reading this book casually, I think that character could have been introduced a little bit better in this arc. So, I gave it 3 stars. The artwork is really well done. I do like the locked door mystery. I do think it was a Civil War II tie-in for the most part. But I don't know if this was a rememberable story for me personally. So, Mockingbird issue 7 gets 3 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 16, which is a little lower than the first issue, but Briggs Land issue 2, which definitely slows the pace in issue 2 than, compared to what we had with issue 1. With issue 1, I think it established the world really well, got us into the characters, and here, I still really like the world. I like the idea of this very masculine group that usually it's a male who's the head of this group in this kind of cult, is now, being headed by Grace, our main character, and even the cops that are investigating this place and Grace and the Briggs family in general says, yeah, she can't be the head. That's not possible. But now they're questioning, maybe she is. And you're seeing pretty much the first day of what is it like for her to be the head of the Briggs Land. And I liked it, but again, it's very slow. I think in this instance, maybe Briggs Land is probably a better binge read. But issue 1 gave you a lot more, but still is a good character development issue. Obviously, we'll get issue 3. Loving the coloring for this book. And yeah, overall, I gave it 3 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to we're up to number 15, which is Doom Patrol issue 1, which I have not peeled the burrito. I don't know if I want to yet. Let me know if you guys have peeled the burrito. But yes, Doom Patrol was weird, right? Doom Patrol is always really weird, and it's supposed to be. But at the same time, I've dabbled in Doom Patrol. I've never read, like, a series fully, but I dabbled. I know what the team's about. Even though I would say that, our main character here is a new character, Casey, which you don't really know much about in this issue. You definitely get her personality, which I liked, but what I didn't like about this issue is how they introduced the other characters. Now, this is supposed to be new reader friendly, it's supposed to be kind of this new generation of Doom Patrol, but you're introducing these characters like everyone knows who, honestly, these C to D list characters are. So I think they could have better explained some of these characters and introduced them. It felt very fast in a lot of ways, and Casey's supposed to be this gateway character for the reader. In a lot of ways, she wasn't. I guess because of her personality, but she should have questioned a lot more. Just that way the readers could understand who these characters are. Artwork's also very simple, which I guess works for this book. But yeah, overall, it's weird. I don't know if I felt really connected to the book. I keep saying it's just weird, and I think that's the reaction you're supposed to have. But yeah, overall I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I don't know if I'm going to get issue 2, but I'm glad I tried out issue 1. Alright, so that was number 15, I believe. It is. So now we're moving on to number 14, which is Spider-Man issue 8. This started out really good. I really liked the interaction between Jessica, Luke, and Miles, even though I thought the dialogue was very heavy, and I know that's, very much a Brian Michael Bendis thing, and I usually like it, but there was a lot of, repetitiveness in the dialogue in the beginning of, saying, oh, I don't remember what word they used. They kept saying, they just kept throwing a word around, and they kept repeating it. I probably could just read one bubble and find it, but anyways, professional courtesy. I think they said that word about 10 times in the first half of the book. And again, I enjoyed the interaction between them. It was just a little tad long, but I like, just Luke and Jessica interacting was a lot of fun. Artwork's not bad for this book. I actually like the facial features a little bit more here. But there are some odd and awkward moments. And even though this is supposed to be odd and awkward, it's like him grabbing his mask and just oh my god, my grandmother hired you. But yeah, overall, I like the artwork. I do think it's a bit of an improvement. But then there are times where Jessica and Luke, I felt like could have been a little bit detailed in those type of scenes. But overall, I do like the art. But yeah, the way this book kind of turns on its head, I'm like, I want to like this book more, is the Civil War II tie-in. I feel like it's very bogged down because of it. It's in the past, this Civil War II tie-in. It's before Hulk dies, and now it's Miles, Nova, and Ms. Marvel reacting to the Hulk dying. I'm like, how many tie-ins are we going to read about this? This should have happened 3 months ago when that book, or I don't remember how many months ago the book came out. I think it was about 3 months ago. That should have happened when that book came out, not now. It feels like very old news for this book to connect to that. Even though the moments were good, I liked it. I especially liked the hand-holding of Nova and Miles and Ms. Marvel when we're just like, hey, we just saw someone die that we know. So they're very much in shock. But you show that these 3 are very good friends and that they're there to support each other. Now that's just a panel, but I thought that was definitely the strongest part of that. But again, a little bit too late. I don't think this book is relevant, and that's kind of hard to read. This should have came out when that issue 3 came out. When the Hulk died, it'd feel more relevant. But yeah, overall, I gave it 3 stars. I think it's worth reading if you really like Jessica and Luke, but at the same time, I don't know if this issue really adds anything. So Spider-Man issue 8, I do hope that Miles' mother finds out about him being Spider-Man, because I like that moment where Jessica's like, hey, you have a cool mom. So I like that part. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is a book I kind of read on whim, and that is Gotham Academy, second semester, issue 1. I read this on whim because I wasn't really expecting to pick it up, but I had a chance to, and I read it, and I still can't get into Gotham Academy. I really try, especially because Jay on Comic Frontline really likes it. I couldn't get into this. I felt like it felt more like an issue 0 than an issue 1. I feel like an issue 1 should really hook you. But it was very much, I think, catering to the people that are RA fans. But when you have, issue 1/second semester, I think it should explain the manor or the Gotham University, wherever they live, Gotham campus, a little bit better. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It didn't get me enough for me to pick up issue 2, but I think people that like Gotham Academy will enjoy this issue. Alright, so we're moving on to number 12, which is Action Comics, issue 963. Still a slow book. Still a pretty slow book. Artwork, I really like the coloring. There's times where I think facial expression could be better. It looks a little blocky at times and stiff. But I do like the art, definitely the coloring the most here. And the artwork is not bad. So overall for me though, the story here is about Clark, this new Clark who's only Clark Kent, just the world's reacting to him, that everyone thinks he's Superman. He's like, I'm not Superman, and you're trying to figure out like what's going on with him. And the cliffhanger is, the Superman, the current Superman and Clark need to talk about whatever's going on. I thought this was a slow issue, honestly. It was a very slow-paced issue for a beginning of an arc, and I feel like that's the biggest problem with all the Superman titles and some of the DC titles in general, is that they're stalling, and I don't really know why. Like, they're just really stalling and making these stories really slow. And, you're spending $2.99, you want to get a little bit meat into this book. Like, it's an okay part 1 for me, but yeah, it needed a little bit more. It needed more for this story. So Action Comics issue 963 gets 3 stars. Alright, so now moving on to number 11, which is another book I kind of got at whim because I heard it was important with another book that came out, and that is Teen Titans issue 24, which is the last issue of Teen Titans for the New 52, we'll say, even though it's like kind of colliding into DC Rebirth, but it's the last issue, so it's a goodbye to the Teen Titans, but it's also a goodbye to, spoiler alert if you haven't read Detective Comics, Tim Drake. So it's a team saying, why they miss him. And I think if you read this book and you've been reading this book and you love this book, you'll really get a good, heartwarming issue. But if you don't really like the Teen Titans of the New 52 like me, you don't get too much out of it. But still, if you like Tim, I think it's worth the read. The artwork could be a little better. Especially the coloring, but overall I gave it 3.5 stars. I think it's worth picking up if you liked him, and the emotion was definitely there, even, I guess, if you don't love the characters. Alright, moving on to number 10. I am surprised to see this book so low. I loved the first issue, but issue 2 kind of fell down for me, and that was Superwoman issue 2. So Superwoman felt really crowded in this issue, and the artwork, I mean, look how many panels here, panels are just in the first page. It just felt really crowded, and not just the art felt crowded, but the story did too. I mean, look how many panels, look how many panels are on this one page, but the story also felt crowded. They're trying to fit Lex's story, Lana, Steel now. There's just so much going on in this one book, so I thought there was too much going on. I like the cliffhanger overall too with Lex's sister. It's kind of cool that she's might be the villain, but then you have like the monsters that killed Lois supposedly, which gets, you want to learn a little bit more about them. So yeah, I think the best way to say about this issue, it just felt really crowded. It needed to slow down a bit. But things I really did like, obviously Lana, I liked her story. I do think she had better narration in the first issue, but I really liked that they added Steel and Lana's relationship. I thought that was definitely the strongest aspect. I like Steel's niece. And then, of course, the insect queen being referenced here. Maybe Lana will become the insect queen again, even though she's a superwoman. Very good callback to Lana Silver Age and just Lana in general. So, for me, I gave it 3.5 stars. Still really enjoyed the issue. I definitely had moments that I liked, but it just needs to kind of slow down, which is weird, because all the other DC Rebirth titles, I keep saying it has to pick up the pace, but here it's just way too many things thrown at you. And I think issue 1 you had that, but it wasn't as recognizable as issue 2. Alright, so moving on to number think we're up to 9. There's also a book I'm a little disappointed is lower this week, and that is Batgirl, Birds of Prey, issue 2. I like this issue, but I think there was a lot of lost opportunity here, especially with Gordon and Barbara's, or Batgirl's relationship, where you don't really know if he knows that Barbara's Batgirl, and you know, they kind of have this fight that Commissioner Gordon is, like, being overprotective of Batgirl and saying, well, you need help, you can't do this all alone. And I do like the moment between Batman and Batgirl, though, where he's like, no, I'm gonna, I'll step away. I trust you. And I like that relationship because you don't really get to see it highlighted that much in especially current comics. So it's great to see the Batman-Batgirl dynamic, just those two and their relationship. Definitely it's a good issue to build up Huntress and Black Canary, which is good. But overall, I think, again, like I said, there was lost opportunity with Commissioner Gordon. Even the Batman scene, I was like, I wanted more from them. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I still like the issue. I don't know how to feel about these villains that are connected to the whole Oracle mystery. I thought that was a little lacking. But, yeah, 3.5 stars for me. I'm still very excited to see where Batgirl and the Birds of Prey go, though. So that is number 9. Moving on to, I believe, number 8 now. So number 8 is Grimm, issue 1. I really liked Grimm. I picked this up because I'm like on and off with the Grimm TV show. I'm not really watching it now, but I watched the Hex and Beast Juliet season because I thought that was a very exciting story arc for her, and they just like butchered it on the show because they didn't really make it a strength to her. She just like went weird. And this book literally says, hey, we saw the potential of Juliet's Hex and Beast side. Let's do something with it. Let's make a Juliet story, which is cool because I feel like Juliet's always this missed opportunity type character where they just kind of take the story wrong. I don't think she's a bad character, though. So I really like that. I like that it brought the female Grimm characters to the forefront, and especially Juliet, who I feel like is a character that's just kind of been mistreated on the show. So overall, I thought it was a really solid issue, and it gave me definitely enough to want to pick up issue 2. So that was number 8. And moving on to number 7, I know some people might be surprised this did not make my top 5, but it's Detective Comics issue 940. Obviously, I like what happened in this issue. It was a very interesting ending with Tim. Who knows who's next to him? Maybe it's Cassie, the real Superboy. Could be some JSA member. I don't know. That's kind of the cool mystery of the ending, that he is off the playing board. He's off the chessboard, and because he knew too much, he was connected to too many people, which I think makes a lot of sense with Detective Comics, because Tim was starting to get comfortable. He was starting to become who he was. But problems I had here, dialogue, I had some problems with. The emotion wasn't there for me. Maybe because the ending, we knew that Tim was alive. Maybe that was the reason, even though I think we all knew Tim was gonna be alive. But it's that, I will say, the weird panel between Stephanie and Batman trying to hold hands, and then it's like this weird hug they go into. It's just kind of awkward paneling, but yeah, I just felt like the emotion was off, and what the emotion is really, and this is more predicting the future, but the crossover is coming up, so you can't even really do a real Tim Drake issue next, you know, mourning him. You can't even do that because you have this Monsters crossover coming up. But yeah, I think they could have done more here. Again, it was a good issue. I also am a little upset. Maybe Stephanie is once again driven by Tim to be a hero, not really driven by her own self. I feel like that's been a mistake they've made many times with Stephanie in the past. But again, that's more predicting the future than anything. But I do like, obviously, Stephanie and Tim's relationship, and she should react like that. Another problem I have is just a general problem of Kate's father being the villain, just for villain's sake, I would say. It still doesn't quite make sense to me that that character is a villain. And it plays off in this issue, because he's like, goes really evil in this issue with, like, oh, Kate, you know, you're wrong type thing. So, I gave it 4 stars, though. You know, it's obviously a huge issue, but I don't think it was executed as well as it could have. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 6, which is Red Hood and the Outlaws, issue 2. I've been so surprised with this series. I keep saying it, and I'm liking it a lot. I like where they're taking Red Hood. Really like the art style. I think it works so well. This tone, this kind of grittiness to a Jason Todd book. But Artemis was interesting here too. I like that we got to see her past and like this friendship that's starting to be created between Artemis and Jason Todd. And then of course you had the predictable ending that, Bizarro's gonna come. We already knew the Rouster, but it's cool that they're working against Black Mask, and I liked it. I liked their relationship. I thought it was built well here. I thought it was a solid book. I'm really looking forward to reading more Red Hood and the Outlaws. It's been, again, that real surprise DC Rebirth book that I look forward to reading every month. Alright, so now we're moving on to top 5. Number 5 is a book that I think is one of the best Civil War II tie-ins, and that is A-Force issue 9. I've been really happy with A-Force overall. I think it's a book that more people should be reading. And here what I really like about this issue is that Captain Marvel, I think, is written really well here. There's a lot of tie-ins where she's just kind of bossy and unreasonable, and I've heard that complaint a lot just about the Civil War II book in general, is that, oh, they ruined Captain Marvel's character. And I think in some tie-ins they do that, but here you actually see her, have the ideology she wants, but also you see it being reasonable. But now in the end of this issue, she's kidnapped by, I thought it was Alice, but it's actually Elsa Bloodstone in the end of the issue. So now Nico has to decide, does she kill this bug person? Does she kill Alice? There's so many ethical decisions she has to make, and now Captain Marvel's in the forefront of it. I think a lot of the other tie-ins take it that Captain Marvel is just like kind of pointing the finger at everybody, and other heroes have to make the decision. But now I think it becomes even more personal, not just because, she obviously had Rhodey die, but it's literally her maybe dying because of these visions and the misperception of Ulysses. So I really like the ethical layers that we see with A-Force, which is obviously a big theme and a big thing of the regular Civil War II main story. Artwork, it has a little bit blotty, inking, but I do think it's an improvement of the artwork that or I won't even say improvement. I think it fits the tone better of, what we had from the Prez artist with the Thor part, or the Thor Dazzler story. But yeah, overall I really liked it. I thought it was a solid issue. I thought Elsa, I don't know if she was really needed in the story. And again, I was a little confused by the cliffhanger. I think it would have been better if Alice was the person that was trying to target Captain Marvel. But again, the ethical decisions were really well done. And I hope that Civil War II, or, the A-Force Civil War II tie-ins continue to be this good. I think there's one more issue left. So if you actually want a Civil War II tie-in that actually add things to the event, I definitely recommend A-Force issue 9. And there's some really good character moments in general I could go into even more. But read my written review on the Marvel Report if you want more information on that. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is Wonder Woman issue 6. Now this is definitely my favorite part of the Wonder Woman series. Is definitely the year 1. And here, honestly, this issue makes more sense of the connection with the present day now that we have Cheetah, before she was Cheetah, being the only person that was able to talk to Diana, literally talk to Diana, like language barrier talk to Diana in this issue. I liked it. It was Wonder Woman just trying to get used to our world. Just heard a car go down our street really fast. Anyways, it was really cool to see that, and the artwork's beautiful by Scott. I mean, I think it works so well to kind of bring that youngness, that brightness to Diana's story, where Liam Sharp's artwork and the colorist who does Liam Sharp's artwork brings a little bit darker, showing that she has grown up and, she's gone through a lot of stuff. So I liked it though. I thought it was a really good piece to the year 1 story, but also a really good piece that connects to the present story, especially with Cheetah. So I thought it was a very solid issue. Wonder Woman issue 6 gets number 4. So now we're moving on to number 3. And number 3 is Lady Killer issue 2. I love this book. I just been gushing over it, and this continues to be a very definitely continues to be a very good second issue. where a main character, she's starting her own business to kill people, but she, even for a woman in this day and age, the men are saying, you're good at your job. And then one of the guys says that. He's like, yeah, you're a woman, but even if you're a man, you will still be eyeing on you. So she might be joining a union for being an assassin, pretty much. And then you have this old guy who wants to help her and like be part of her business. So it's building up the business, but also the tension between maybe her family finding out, because her assassin life is kind of leaking in. Her new partner goes to the beach with them, and she's shocked. She's like, what's going on here? But also what I love about this book is bringing, obviously, this interesting contradiction of the housewife wearing an apron, killing off these people, and she kills off an airplane pilot in this issue, and she dresses up as like a stewardess. It's fun, it's a very fun series, and I thought this was a great continuation. So Lady Killer 2, issue 2, is definitely worth picking up. Lady Killer in general is worth picking up, and I give that 4 stars. Definitely pick that up. So that was number 3. Moving on to number 2, a book I thought was really, had really improved this week and why it's high up this week, and that's Green Lanterns issue 6. I thought the artwork was a lot neater than it usually is, and the character, character interactions between Boz and Jessica really improved here, where you see that they're friends. And Jessica made a construct, and you feel proud because there was really good build-up with that. Jessica's able to save the day, and Simon's able to be proud of her friend. And you see that they're becoming friends, and I really like that about this issue. I think it developed Boz really well, developed Jessica really well, and of course, you still have more with the Red Lanterns. Also, the Phantom Ring. I was really surprised at what the use was for the Phantom Ring. It's not that you're special if you have the Phantom Ring. Literally, anyone can use this ring. I thought that was really different and original. So overall, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a very solid issue, and that was my number 2. Moving on to my number 1, honestly, this was a very obvious pick of the week for me this week, and that was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Pink issue 3. I love this book. I just gotta say that. Love this book, and I love how this book, I think even more than the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers main series, is able to, develop these characters more. Able to even, with the fights usually, obviously, in the TV shows, just like, let's fight these Zords, and, not Zords, obviously, they use Zords. Let's fight these monsters and putties, and that's it. You're just fighting for fighting's sake. But here, Brendan Fletcher is able to make it personal. And especially with Kimberly and her mom being trapped and being a monster. And that's what I really love about this arc, is that the villains actually have development. I think even more than what we've been seeing in the Mighty Morphin regular series. Like, we've been seeing, obviously, the Rangers more developed in that series, but here it's Kimberly more developed, Trini, Zach, new characters. Kimberly's mom, which was only shown up maybe 3 times in the series, and referenced in the series, being developed in characters you care about. And Kimberly just being a kick-ass leader. I think we've seen that in the show, that she definitely had qualities of being a leader. She's a very fan favorite Ranger, but she's a leader here, and that's so cool to see a female Power Ranger as a leader. I love it. I just love this issue, and the artwork is gorgeous. The action is so well done. I love, even here, just seeing Kimberly's eyes within the Power Ranger suit. The emotion's well done. I just love this book. I really do. And yeah, there's just so much good character development. I love that Kimberly interacts with her mom. I like that we got kind of a new friendship with that new character that shows up, that betrayed Kimberly. I love that they showed more of Trini and Kimberly's friendship, that they know each other really well. Honestly, I gave Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Pink 5 stars. I just really enjoyed this issue, and this is all you can really ask for a really well-developed Power Rangers book. So, 100% pick of the week for me. hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.